All right, guys, today I want to talk about injuries, right? If you're training Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu for any amount of time, injuries are inevitable. You can't prevent them, right? That's not the point of this video, is to tell you how to prevent injuries. You can always try to limit them by training smart and picking who you go with and stuff like that. But injuries are a part of this game, and as you train more and more, they're going to become more a part of the game, unfortunately. Like, I'm 42, I take really good care of myself, and I still get injured. Now, what the point of this video is to show you guys how to get past injuries so you can keep training and when to take time off, right? Now, you're gonna run into chronic injuries most of the time, overuse injuries. Like, I have really jacked up elbows and shoulders just from years of doing martial arts, and you have to understand the kimuras and key locks and arm bars, our bodies aren't meant to be in those positions, especially like when we're defending a submission. Our body isn't meant to do that for any extended period of time. That's not normal. It's not normal. It's not normal, right? And even if you're able to get out of those submissions and you don't get hurt, and there's no tearing or anything, that puts a strain on your ligaments, a strain on your joints. And when you do that over the course of years, it accumulates, wear and tear injuries or chronic injuries. And sometimes taking time off is the best thing you can do. Like, I had an arm injury last week. I had a really bad tendonitis flare up. I felt my arm pop and everything, and I was able to keep training, but on the next day, my arm was stuck like this. I couldn't extend my arm, right? So this whole week I've just been teaching and avoiding, putting any strenuous use on it, right? Teaching, I can kind of control, there's no resistance, and sometimes that might be your training if you're super injured, is teaching others, because there's no resistance when you're teaching, right? You can get the reps in physically and mentally. Teaching makes you a lot more technical, makes you a lot sharper. So that is a way that you can train around injuries, so to speak. You're not really getting out there and getting a good sweat or doing anything with resistance, but if you're training someone, you're still getting the reps in, and you're still able to, do what you want to do, which is be out on the mat, but you just can't do it in the way you want to. Because there's a lot of videos out there on how to prevent injuries, and tapping early can prevent injuries, but I mean, taking all that aside, you have good training partners that don't hurt you, and everyone's cautious of everyone's safety, things are gonna happen, things accumulate. That's the biggest thing, is accumulation, right? Wear and tear and mileage is huge. One way you can alleviate that is get a massage. I get a massage a week if I'm able to schedule them and afford it, and it helps. It keeps me in pretty good working order. My shoulders are still jacked, my elbows are still jacked, but they're better than they were. And it keeps me on the mat, it keeps me training. Accidents unfortunately happen. You can be in an environment where everyone's very cautious, everyone's aware, and you fall the wrong way. Someone lands on you. You're wrestling with someone here and someone lands on you over there. All that stuff's accidental. No one means it, but it does happen, right? And there's nothing you can do about that. You just have to hope that, if you see someone starting to fall, that you're able to pay attention. Because, if I'm over here rolling with someone and then someone over here lands on me, that's out of my control. But it does happen, and that can cause injuries. And it's different for other people. Some people have really bad neck issues. Some people have really bad lower back issues. I don't have issues with my neck or lower back. I think that the reason I have a strong lower back is my weightlifting, my squats, my deadlifts. I make it strong. I'm pretty strong on back workouts, do a lot of pull downs, bent over rows. My back as a unit is strong. And that can help, I don't want to say the word prevent, but, having a good lifting regimen can help you not endure as much injuries. Now, lifting on its own can cause injuries if you go too heavy too soon, or if your technique's bad, so you have to keep that in mind. Lifting is an option to limit your injuries. You have strong shoulders, strong biceps, strong triceps, strong wrists from lifting. It lends it to not getting injured as much in here. But again, you do a heavy back workout, back and biceps, and you come in here, your body's in a weakened state, and then you're doing jiu-jitsu, so it's breaking it down further. So there has to be a balance with all that stuff. The best thing you can do is, take time off, even if you don't want to. You have to look at the end game, the bigger picture, right? You have to look at the long road, not the short intersection, right? We want to be on the mat. We want to be training every day. Of course, we love it. It becomes addicting. But, you're feeling a little off, you're feeling a little sore, don't train that night. Come into the class and do technique. That's a way where you can still stimulate your body, get the benefit of learning something, stimulate those neural pathways of technique, and not get injured, right? It's very hard to get injured if you're just drilling with someone. I mean, like, again, anything can happen anywhere, but it's very unlikely if I'm drilling some guard passing drills with me and my partner, and we're drilling back and forth with light active resistance and he's not really going at it, that there's going to be an injury. You know, anything can always happen, but it's unlikely, right? So, you know, drill instead of rolling sometimes. Weight lift, take time off. Massage if you guys can afford it. Those are ways to limit injuries and keep you on the mat or get you back on the mat faster. You know, something catastrophic happens like, you know, a vertebra or you blow out your ACL, that's time off. You'd be a fool to come in and train in a state like that. But with the other stuff I've touched on, you know, taking a day off, even if you don't want to, getting a massage, drilling instead of active rolling, or, you know, again, having a simple and smart weight training regimen can go a long way. I think one of the reasons that I don't get the injuries that other guys, I've been in jiu-jitsu, last week was 22 years now. And in 22 years, knock on wood, I haven't had any other than freak stuff and people landing on me. You know, I did have someone do something years back where I got a fracture, but it was because I got landed on at a weird angle. And I was out for about 5 weeks because of that, but that wasn't me being stupid, me being reckless. You know, something happened and I had to take time off for that. But for the most part, I don't, you know, I can still do 3 days. I can do a morning session and a weight session in the afternoon and come back here at night and train hard and be fine, right? But I also pick and choose who I roll with. So you have to go with someone who you can trust. So all these things I'm putting out there are ways that you guys can limit injuries and keep yourself on the mat longer. You can't prevent injuries, unfortunately. I don't want to lie to anyone. You can't prevent them, but you can limit them by being smart about who you train with, resistance training, and, you know, more rest or active rest in terms of drilling. So keep those things in mind while you're on the mat, and you guys will have less injuries in your career.